Those telling you that Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, is some kind of culmination of the epic space opera Zack Snyder's trying to tell, well, they're lying to you. He's going to keep this starship going for as long as Netflix lets him, with plans for at least one more movie and R-rated extended cuts of each, plus other multimedia expansions. But after 2 films, it's hard to find a reason to justify its continued existence from a creative standpoint. To be clear, The Scargiver is an improvement over Part 1, A Child of Fire, in that it tells an easy-to-follow, straightforward tale full of action, but the bar was previously set very low. Originally conceived as Snyder's version of Seven Samurai meets Star Wars, the second chapter brings that premise to a climactic head full of slow-motion space battles, heroic sacrifices, and lots of time spent harvesting wheat. What? Yeah, the first half of The Scargiver is pretty drab, unless you're super into agriculture. Sofia Boutella returns as Kora, along with her lover Gunnar, played by Michiel Huisman, set out to gather warriors to return and defend the good people of Veldt from Admiral Atticus Noble, played again by Skrein, and the evil forces of Motherworld. She was too good at her mission, though. Not only did she gather a ragtag bunch of badasses, but by the end of the first movie, she had seemingly killed Noble. Hey, mission accomplished. So they returned to Veldt thinking all was good in the universe. Let there be much merrymaking and wine drinking and such. But no, it's quickly revealed that Noble survived the attack, albeit with a nasty scar, the Scargiver, and that they still plan to arrive in Veldt in just 5 days' time. Better get to harvesting that grain. A highlight of the first movie, Djimon Hounsou, returns as former Imperium General Titus, and he has an even bigger role in the Scargiver, which is a very good thing. It's up to Titus to train these simple farming folk to become hardened warriors in just a couple of days. Hounsou is such a commanding and honorable presence that he lends credibility to a pretty dull first hour of the film. Much of that time is spent with Snyder abusing his slow-motion budget on shots of the townspeople celebrating and chafing wheat. It's hilariously excessive, almost as if Snyder is doing a parody of himself, knowing that dudes like me will make fun of him for it. I'm quite a big Snyder fan, personally, but even I found this shit excruciating. On the plus side, Snyder and his co-writers, Kurt Johnstad and Shay Hatton, do their best to flesh out each character's backstory. While the actual approach is clunky flashback sequences, we at least learn more about the small band of fighters and why they're willing to risk their lives. In particular, Kora's story rounds into shape as we learn the past actions that have left her carrying so much guilt and forced her to flee Imperium to live in a form of exile. Still not nearly enough to make all of the warriors interesting, which is frustrating because some are pretty cool, like Bay Dona's Jedi/Swordmaster Nemesis. Carrying a pair of flaming blades, she strikes an imposing image, but softens as she befriends some of the town's most innocent citizens. But seriously, nothing can save some of these folks, like Stas Nair's Tarek, who I'm pretty sure is a hybrid of Tarzan and Turok and looks the part. I think he has one line of more than 3 words, and it's basically to have a last stand opposite Milius, played by Elise Duffy, whose sole trait is that she looks like she escaped from the fevered brain of George Miller. The character interactions are woeful, the dialogue is crap, and the narrative is amateurish at best. And this is the better Rebel Moon film, mind you. I gave the first one a 1.5 out of 5. It was terrible. There's an interesting case to be made that Jimmy, the peacekeeping mechanical knight voiced by Anthony Hopkins, is too powerful a character for Rebel Moon. It's like putting Superman in G.I. Joe. While he flashed an idea of his power in the first movie, here he displays enough in one devastating rescue scene to suggest that Kora probably could have just walked a few blocks and asked him to defeat all of her enemies for her. Perhaps that's why Snyder kept Jimmy on the sidelines for so long, but it just scans as really weird. Such a strange role for Hopkins, too. If you can make it through the farming tutorial, the Scargiver rewards you with a full hour of non-stop CGI-fueled battles. Red laser blasts dominate the screen, and there's an impressive sense of scale as the people of Veldt are being overwhelmed. It feels like a real war has broken out, with superior military might clashing against destabilizing guerrilla tactics. Skrein stomps through their makeshift defenses with a devilish scowl and a dickish attitude that's just a lot of fun to watch. A surprising number of familiar good guys perish, but since most are total blank slates, it's hard for any of it to resonate emotionally. Snyder can create gorgeous, vivid depictions of fantasy violence that look like paintings come to life, and Rebel Moon, both chapters, are at their best when he's allowed to focus on that. Although the Scargiver is less burdened by stale, redundant plotting than the Child of Fire, there's still a lot to get through before Snyder's strengths are truly put on display. Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, is streaming now on Netflix, and it gets a 2.5 out of 5. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.